Hi, welcome back to More People, More Problems podcast with myself, Brittany, and my co host, Chelsea. Nice to see you all today, or hopefully, you got your earphones on, you're ready to listen to us. As always, we got some good content today. But before we jump into that, I just wanted to say that the opinions shared are that of our own. Not of anyone else or past or present employers. So don't come after us and sue us. It's just us. Also, that we're going to keep things confidential as we always do. That's very important to us out of respect, but also just, once again, we don't want you to come after us. Should stop saying that. Anywho, and then lastly, please like, subscribe, add some comments. We love hearing from you. We've gotten a few more, and it's always great to interact. So add some more in there. So, Chelsea, what is our topic today?
Okay, thanks. Coming to you straight from Chelsea here. So, topic for today is as a leader, how do you inspire your employees?
Sounds really inspiring. You just said that so monotone.
Have to be very charismatic while you do it. Obviously, I felt like it was good. Okay, Britt, don't judge my tone. It was like my show host like tone. You know what I mean? This is Jeopardy.
Yeah, we need a little bit more inflection. Like, how do you inspire your people?
How do you inspire your people?
Yeah.
Okay, coming at you now. This is our topic for today. So let's talk about inspiring. So, firstly, I want to say, like, why? Like, why do you want to
Yeah.
inspire anyone? Like, why does it matter? Like, who cares? Whatever.
Don't you just
So,
have to show up to the job? Like, why?
yeah, just show up. Like, it's good. Clock in, clock out. You're done. Like a Flintstones episode or something. No, like you want to inspire people for many different reasons. Obviously, you can get high outputs, you get high employee morale, retention, engagement. And we'll talk about after the difference between engagement and motivation or inspiration. And of course, driving the organization towards those goals, those business needs, the priorities and whatnot, and kind of getting that edge for your
Yeah.
organization. So for me, those are some of the reasons why you would want to inspire your employees.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think people obviously show up to work for many reasons, but they show up to work. And what we're talking about is not just showing up to work, but really showing up to have an impact, to truly make an impact and drive towards something better. And that's that unlocking. And I know before we talked about like A players, B players, C players, thinking about it as an organization, I think there's A organizations, B organizations, C. And so, like, to unlock that next level opportunity to become that unicorn and really innovate faster and better than the rest, I think you need to be truly inspired as a company, and that's done through leadership. And so let's talk about how do you up level that? And so you talked a little bit about engagement versus maybe inspiring or motivation. Tell me more on that.
Telling me more. Okay, so for me, there's a difference, right? So we've
Yeah.
got engagement, and I'm doing aggressive hand movements for anyone who can see it, and they're like, it's a bit much. Okay, I won't do that.
No, no, no. Get in there. Feel your body.
There, but then it's like doing like that slow mo and blurring thing. Okay, so engagement for me, like, of course, you want your employees to be engaged. You want them to be happy. You want them to be productive. You want them to do their work. You want them to show up every day, and they're spending 8+ hours a day working under you as a lead. Well, you want them to be there and be into what they're doing. So for me, that's engagement, right? So I want to engage my workforce. Now, an engaged workforce is not necessarily, for me, a motivated or an inspired workforce. I'm talking about that up level that you just mentioned. So motivating and inspiring is really unlocking that true potential in those employees, right? It's not just making sure they're happy. Of course, motivate and inspire people likely very well are happy and engaged and
More so, 100%.
I would say so, getting the things they need, but I want them to be high impact. I want them to be A players. I want them to realize something in themselves and to develop something in themselves that is above and beyond what just a normal everyday employee is bringing to the table. So
Yeah.
for me, that's going to be our difference between engagement and like a motivation or an inspiration type of aspect.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I mean, I don't want to sewer any companies or any industries, but I think there is a difference between just showing up and, say your job is you're making Subway's sandwiches, like showing up and just making them when they come in versus someone that comes in making the sandwiches, but in their spare time is cleaning everything up and in their spare time is thinking of new recipes for the Subway sandwiches. Like there's like unlocking a true feeling of importance in individuals and a true feeling of motivators to go above and beyond. And I think actually, to say it very bluntly, that's what inspires creativity, inspires like innovation and true like new and uninhibited like potential. And so talking about those different levels, I think Maslow's hierarchy is just like a very tangible example to go through the different levels and talk about um how it kind of comes to inspire and like motivate, actually more so motivate employees at different levels. And so if you don't know what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, it's really truly a pyramid. There's 5 different levels within it, and it talks about human psychological needs, and as you go above and above each level within the pyramid, you become a greater self. And so there's different, so actually, I'll say this another way. As an individual, you're inspiring to go up to the top, which is self actualization. But I think in an organization, a really important note is to realize that, we talk a lot about how it's organization, team, then individual, but you also have to reverse engineer that and realize that every individual matters. And it's the sum of the individuals that then make up the team, that then make up the organization. And so you need to build for each individual's hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy. And so the first one on that base level is that physiological needs, right? And so, I mean, you know this, but it's like shelter, food, it's having, the importance of having a salary. Like you need money and you need job security so that you feel comfortable and that you know that you have a place, a shelter to go home to provide food. And without those basic needs and confirmation that you're getting that, you're not going to be motivated as an individual to be able to do much more on top of that. The next one, what's the next one? So it's physiological needs, and then is it
Right?
safety? Say
So
it again.
safety and security is next. So that can
Yeah.
be like your personal security, but of course that can be job security as well.
Yeah, huge.
So important, like having a job and of course bringing home that paycheck, and you're paying for a lot of those physiological needs that and the bills you got piling up.
It's
But
also probably trust that you know that you're safe in your job. Like depending on what industry you're in, I'm sure I couldn't be very inspired if I felt like my life was at risk in building cars every day. And you know what I mean? Like you have to have trust and confidence in the environment and in your leaders to make the right decisions for your safety and security.
well, I think also, and we've talked about this before, is persons on like short-term contracts and whatnot. That's going to be hard for people to continuously aspire to their absolute greatness when they don't know if they've got a confirmed safety net, in 6 months or in a
Yeah.
year or in 2 years. So contracts can be hard. So that can definitely threaten a little bit some of those elements of Maslow's hierarchy for individuals. So people who do have permanent jobs, and of course anything can happen in life and in your organization and the government, things can happen, but when you do have a permanent spot somewhere in an organization, that's obviously going to help you reach the top of your pyramid eventually, because you are going to have that job security as well. It's
Yeah.
not just like, paycheck to paycheck trying to get, food on the table for my family. It's like you at least know it's going to be there. But
Yeah.
moving on from the safety and the security aspect is your love and belonging aspect. And
Which everyone's probably like at this moment, "Oh, such fluff. This is why the 2 HR girls are talking about this." But it's actually, I think you have an interesting take, which it's like it's not love and belonging all gushy.
well, yeah, no, I mean, it depends on what you're looking at, but we're looking at
Yeah.
work right now. So we're looking at connection, we're looking at inclusion, we're looking at people feeling cared about and supported by their leads or by their colleagues or by their organization, right? So that's a really important step. Of course, then you continue to move up to the ladder. You're looking at esteem, respect, self esteem, things of that nature. And then at the very top, the point of the pyramid is self actualization, so becoming the best person you can be, right? So if you think about that in the aspect of work, becoming the best employee, like
Yeah.
unlocking your true potential of what you could bring to the table. And for me, that's where a difference on engagement and motivation comes in. My engaged employees, yes, they feel that love or that connection or that support, the inclusion, but the motivated employees are reaching towards the top of the pyramid right now. They're unlocking something in them that is going to drive the business. That's going to give the business, your organization that edge to be better, to create, to make new. So for me, that's where Maslow's hierarchy is really comes into play when we talk about the way a leader can inspire and motivate an individual to become the best they can be and to really develop for themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that the engagement, if we're just talking about this pyramid, sits around the esteem. Because to me, the esteem is like knowing that you're worthy, that you can have an impact, that you are contributing. And I think that's such a critical part of being engaged in the problem or the work that you're in. But I think you're spot on then that self-actualization, so the peak of that pyramid is actually another way of saying it. It's like mastery of self.
Mhm.
It's knowing, it's being vulnerable, it's knowing your strengths and weaknesses, it's pushing above and beyond. And to be able to get to that spot, you need to be inspired by your leader. You need to have a clear vision of what the company is doing and how you play into it. You need to have alignment on core values of how you show up. And I think that that's where the leader needs to set up the environment to be able to even have a chance of getting there. And then there's obviously a lot of work on the individual to really continue to work at that self actualization. But it is that hinge piece that if you can get there, it's like, holy fuck, it's going to be amazing because that's where true power gets unlocked. Not power, that's not the right word, but true potential.
Potential. I would say true potential for sure. And that's where we've talked a lot about A players or whatnot. A players are really working in that top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
They're really unlocking because they're working. A players, as we've talked about before, they're not necessarily motivated by money and perks and
Well,
all
I
the.
think it's because they already have it. If you talk about the Maslow's hierarchy, like, it's not that they're not motivating. If you took one of those things away, that pyramid would crumble. It's just that they're so confident in the fact that they have it, or they feel, so assured in it because they have a strong lead who is able to inspire them and say, "Hey, not only is this your compensation and this is your role and this how long you're gonna work on it, and I want you here for the next few years, and here's how I'm gonna help grow you, and everyone on the team really loves having you here. Here's your impact." By the way, I just hit on all of those different areas of Maslow's, which is very inspiring. It's also like, okay, and now what's that next level up that you're going to do? And what does that look like?
No, that's a fair point because I completely agree. You take those things away and there's a problem
It
there. You're
crumbles.
obviously going
Yeah.
to fall from your little pyramid. So I think that it's important to say, like, for those A players, yes, they have all of those things, but that's not the linchpin for them in terms of where they're trying to go with their development. They're trying to develop and be challenged and to create and to just excel in various areas that are going to promote their own growth through
Yeah.
themselves and growth through their work, which is obviously going to ensure the growth of the organization
You
as
just
well.
made me realize something, that what we're really talking about in this pod is it's not just like how to be a great leader and inspire people. What we're really saying is like, how do you inspire the cream of the crop? How do you inspire A players? Because I think it's easier to inspire like those B and C players. But it's really hard to go toe to toe and hold those A players to that next level. But if you can, once again, that exciting opportunity is there. So try to. But now how do we do it? Like,
How do
let's
we
just talk about like, because it's hard. And I actually think a lot of leaders are really shitty at it. I think they're good managers. I think they're sometimes bad managers, but they're not great leaders. And this is that distinction to me of leadership versus management, and then like also great leadership because it inspires. So for me, a few like foundational elements. I think a great leader who inspires has to have great clarity on what they're doing. So what is the overall company doing?
Mhm.
What is their team then doing? So really this is like that purpose of why, but then coupled with that vision of what is what we're like looking to do.
So, like what you're saying, like believe in the vision, communicate the vision, like
Yeah,
eat the
and
vision.
translate it from just those corporate words on a wall to actually what does it mean? So it's like, my days at Shopify, obviously we had a strong, and I still do to this day, strong purpose of supporting entrepreneurship. But like that didn't resonate with everyone, especially a talent team that were there really, I think, more so in a lot of ways to support the people behind the scenes to then be able to do that. So as a leader, I had to find a way to say, okay, this is the company's vision and purpose. How do I then translate it down to my organization, talk about what we can do to really make that, and then more so the strategy of how we're going to accomplish that. And I think it's really important for the leader to be clear on it. And you're not always going to have the answers, but you need to have a strong opinion weekly held, meaning you need to really do your research, think through it, have a strong story and articulate it, but then be ready to have conversations and evolve your thinking because we all deserve the right to become smarter tomorrow when we wake up. And the way you do that is through conversation and through new realizations. And so, strong opinions weekly held, I think, is so critical. And I think that if you as a leader can tie that all together, that vision, purpose, strategy of how you're going to do it, and then really even bring it a level deeper and say, okay, what are our goals then for the team? And what are our goals for you as an individual? Because we talk about that self like actualization, that growth. A players, I think, are addicted to growing and improving. Whether you look at a sports team like hockey or soccer, or you look at a tech industry, or even, a corporate public, people that are the best of the best realize that you need to grow and improve every single day to be get a better version of yourself, or else you're going to fall off. Like you're just not going to be able to compete. There's a competitive spirit underneath. And to do that, you need a coach or a leader that's going to inspire that potential and really hold you accountable to it with goals, actions, and then, yeah, credibility and accountability that come through with that.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of that piece falls into setting the expectations as well, being very, very clear with everyone about the expectations. And the expectation isn't mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want you to do this. And like, oh, easy peasy. I could do that with my eyes closed and, clock in, clock out at the end of the day, job's done, collect my paycheck.
Yeah. If I think about them, sorry, I was about to cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just taking a deep breath and then I was
I
going,
know.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say because just you saying that reminded me of some of my most inspiring leaders, and a trend line throughout was that they saw more potential in me than I saw in myself at those moments, and they were able to articulate why they saw that potential
Mhm.
and show me a way that I wasn't able to see. And so I think to your point, it's through expectations, it's through communication, but it was through painting a picture of, and in a lot of cases, actually, maybe another trend line was it related to something they've seen in their past too.
Mhm.
Like as a leader, you've seen more. You are able to like zoom out and see more pattern recognition. And so in a certain individual in your team, you'll notice certain trends that you're like, okay, I think you can take on more. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push you. And I believe in you. And so it's that support, that trust that you create that really inspires. So I feel like I said a few things in there, but yeah, there's some interesting trends.
So many good trends and like so many things to unpack and all of that. I think and that just pinged off for me a conversation I just had with someone 2 days ago when we were talking about files and whatnot. And then it just kind of side veered itself into another conversation where I said, I think as we're coming up through this year, like this is your year to start taking on some different files, to taking on some different responsibilities. I see you going into a management role. I see you taking a leadership role on this team. And I think we really need to start kind of tapping into that right now because I'm
Yeah.
seeing all the competencies and the elements of character that are telling me this is going to be for you. And of course, that person's reaction was like, oh my gosh, like, really? Really? Like, no. And like, I no, I didn't even think about that. And I said, I can see it. Like, I can see exactly what you're putting out
Yeah.
on the table. If you can't see it yet, I'm going to help you see it. And we're
And
going
then it's up to the individual to to really work towards it. But there's the underpinning, like, as we're, talking out loud here and thinking through it, like, there's a trust. I don't think you can be inspired by a leader unless you trust them as a leader. So I think trust is such a critical ingredient to this. And trust actually is built through moments in time and experiences. It's not something that you just have right off the bat. There might be some, forms of trust that you believe based on, this one leader or like relating to someone else in your life that you trust. So then you naturally put more trust in them. But outside of that, like, it has to be built through moments. And so trust is built through, repetition of expected outcomes, meaning like your leader, when you mess up or fail, they come and talk to you one on one in the same way, in, a critical way that makes you take accountability but doesn't blast you in front of everyone else on the team. And so trust is something I actually think, as a leader, when you're thinking about inspiring people, trust is where it would start. And I think trust is, yeah, repeatable behaviors, outcomes. I think it's clarity of communication, so clarity of expectations,
Authentic,
as we said. Sorry.
authentic communication.
Huge. Yeah, like, be yourself. No one's gonna be inspired by an actor. You know what I mean? Like, that came out wrong, like, maybe you are inspired by Brad Pitt, but, like, I mean more so like a fake leader. Like, if you're trying to be someone you're not.
That all comes out in the wash sooner rather than later. So
Yeah.
someone might not and you might be a great actor, I don't know. Someone might not sense it at the beginning or as time goes by, but eventually it comes loud and clear who is fake in the way that they're, leading the team, or the way that they're carrying themselves, and the way that they're working with their colleagues, versus who's being very, very authentic about it.
Yeah.
And that's important, and as well as like rolling transparency into that. So I think that's a really excellent point, in that you can't inspire unless you have trust. And of course, there's many, many different things you need to do to build trust, whether it's with a new team or a current team. And not only build trust, maintain trust,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that can easily be broken in just a second. It's going to take years and years, or months to build trust, and it's going to take 1 second to break it, right?
Yeah.
So forget about inspiring anyone if they think you're a fake ass loser. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
That was
but
too.
it is a non-negotiable that you need that. And it's funny, I was just talking to someone about a leader in an organization, and they were giving me an example of how they always get mad and ream out people on the team. But then right after that, like, they make fake threats, like, you're not going to be able to do this because you just messed this up, but da 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 da, da, like reaming them out in front of everyone. Which, so many wrong things about that.
Yeah.
But the worst part is actually not that they're just being an asshole and yelling at people in front of everyone, but rather that they never follow through with what they're yelling about. So now they've actually built trust, not in like the good but the bad. Like,
Yeah.
people realize that the repeatable offense is this person is going to bark, 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 but never bite. And as a result, I'm going to get away with murder, and I never really have to try that much harder because it's there. And so as a leader, you have so many eyes, depending on how big your following is, you have so many eyes on you. And it's not just the big decisions that are going to build that trust or build that connection. It's going to be that, and the little decisions, how consistent you are. Are you really yourself? How are you showing up? And are you, challenging all people on your team in the same way? And are you communicating the same narrative across the board, with tweaks to really meet people where they are? And so I think that's what makes it harder, but also so much cooler and more interesting as a leader, because you have that opportunity to truly inspire
Oh,
multiple
yeah.
people.
And I think as well, something that goes into inspiring individuals is obviously, caring for them. And we'll talk about that later in another podcast. But, caring for them in terms of their own career goals, supporting them in achieving their own career goals,
Yeah.
as well as acknowledging achievements, things of that nature. Like, modeling those behaviors to your colleagues, to your employees, is really going to help to inspire them to be the best they can be. And something I get a lot, and I spend a lot of time doing this, is talking to folks when they're applying to jobs or whatnot. Even if they're on my own team and they're applying to other jobs, they're looking for their next level, they're looking for that next great opportunity. I'll always say, like, Did you want me to send you an example of something that I've done for myself previously? Or happy to write you a reference letter because I feel like that might give you a little bit extra edge. Or happy to provide a reference, things of that nature. And a lot of people's reaction I'm finding recently is, oh my gosh, like no, I wouldn't even ask you. Like you don't have time for that and this and that. But I said I'll make time. Like that's how I make time for people so that I can support them in reaching their highest potential. And that might not be with my team, that might be somewhere else. At the end of the day, it's about caring about that individual and helping them get there. And sometimes helping them get there means you're taking a loss as well. And you're also taking a loss in terms of your own time that you have. I
Yeah.
always think it's value added when I take time out of my day to go and spend a couple more minutes doing those extras for other people because that's what's going to give them the edge. And it's not all about me and like, oh, I feel good. Like, how
Well,
good
I
do
mean,
I
I think
feel
it
about
feels good too most of the time, and that's why
that?
a lot of leaders like being
That
leaders.
can be the
Like, just
motivator.
yeah, but, like, to be honest, like, we all get like, generally, you get something out of it or else you shouldn't be in that position because like, it's really not as fun. But what I will say is,
Disagree.
we're talking a lot of inspiring kind of one to one. And I want to bring it out to like, how do you inspire like a one to many? Because I think that is actually a lot more difficult. And speaking of myself and my career progression, I used to purposely like break up conversations so that I could have more one on ones because it was easier to inspire one on one and really customize the message to that individual to get them to like that next level or get them to focus on something I need them to for the company. But when I had to start to really work about, okay, now I got to inspire 100 people or 400 people or 1,000 people or
You can't do
10,000
it one to
people.
one. You don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well, and you still do, it's just different. You have your direct reports, but when I had a team of 400 talent folks, 450, I couldn't sit down with them all one on one, but I needed to inspire them towards what we wanted to build at Shopify within that regard. And so, how do you do it? And I think the strongest skill set I built over time was the art of storytelling and how to really connect with people not only on a factual basis but on an emotional basis, and that is done through storytelling. And I don't know about you, but like I think back to a lot of learnings I had. I went to Harvard for this executive kind of MBA thing, and it's all case studies. And the case studies that were all like factual based, I don't remember a lot of, but there were a few that were more story based. And I remember them verbatim because they connected with me and they really like hit an emotion. There's also some really interesting neuroscience of why storytelling actually like peaks certain aspects of your brain to then remember things more permanently. But I think that storytelling is just what it's like that secret skill that no one talks about that truly unlocks the one to many.
Mhm.
um, and so I wanna talk about that a little bit.
So, okay. So I'm curious about an example where and like maybe you'll be like, oh, this is like an interview right now. What is an example for you of where you had to use storytelling to get people towards a specific goal or on
Yeah.
board for a project and it was a larger audience than just tailoring off to one or two or three folks? Like, can you give me an example of that?
I got a few. Maybe I'll start with one of where I did it wrong and then where I think I did it more right. But then remind me if I forget, but when COVID hit, because I think I really, as a leader, nailed that one more so on the storytelling side to the whole company. But I'll talk about one to the talent team. So when we must have just gone public, and I now was a public company executive who put a lot of assumptions on myself of what I should be doing in this role, in this level. And so we had a kickoff of the year, and it was like, okay, we used to do these investment plans of what we're going to invest in the year. It had things like how much we were going to grow the company, the team, what was most important, really like a strat plan, like a strategy plan for the year. And so I remember the first year I went out, we had an all to hands with my whole talent team, and I went up there and I had this really detailed PowerPoint presentation, and I was very serious and very corporate in this new role that I thought I needed to be. I even think I wore like the most like corporate outfit I had in my closet at the time just to really like show up. And it was, okay, here's how much we're going to hire. It was all fact based. It was, here's where we're going to focus our time. So in a way, I hit on, what is Shopify? What is the meaning, the vision, the mission, the strategy, the goals? I kind of did what we talked about earlier, but what I didn't do was I didn't show any personality in myself. I didn't share anything of myself. I didn't make it a story to talk too much about the why or how it relates. It was just all like factual.
We're gonna do this, and that.
Yeah, it was very much. And then, I left and it was like, okay. And people weren't connecting with it as much. People weren't using, the goals in their daily language like they had before. And it was in a few conversations with people on the team that I really trusted and respected, one-on-one, that said, "Hey, like, you showed up very differently, and, like, that wasn't Brittany, and, like, who are you trying to be?" And I realized, like, I failed. Like, I tried to be this executive, and I didn't inspire people. And so fast forward to that realization, doing some work, and really saying, "Okay, how do I wanna inspire the team to focus on the things that we need to, but also to expand that and show me the things I might not have even thought of." Like, that's that creativity as we talked about, and that unlocking of the potential and opportunity that I as one individual can't see. That's the power of a team. And so I went back, it must have been like 6 or 8 months later, and I told a story. I first of all kicked off by telling a personal story of how I messed that last one up, how I'm a new leader, and related that to how we're all changing and evolving in our roles, and how this team needed to evolve and change, just like now we're a public company. But what did we want to retain? And so I talked a lot about transcend and include. Like, there's some things we need to up level. Like, we need to be a lot more data focused, because we need to, at this scale, know, on a macro level, what are the trends analysis, so we know where to dig in. And by the way, I'd already said this 6 months later, but my factual corporate one was like, we need to be data informed, so we're going to build a data analytic talent team. And this time I was like, well, here's why. And just like myself, like, that translation of how we're going to get there needs to evolve. But what we're going to keep is that we're going to tell a story, because we're focusing on humans and there's nuance to that. So we're going to, utilize the data that is um, quantitative, but we're going to give the qualitative approach to it as well. And so I told the story across the board and brought up other areas where we needed to focus. And afterwards, people were like, I get it. We're changing. I want to change. Here's another area we need to change, but I'm going to double down on being more data informed. And here's what I'm going to do. And thanks for being vulnerable. And so to me, the difference was people related, people connected, people understood and saw their leader doing something that was uncomfortable and said, I can do that. And now I'm going to push myself to do more of that. Um,
Yeah, they want to
yeah.
see you as dynamic and evolving in your own role, and for sure showing that vulnerability and bringing some emotion into that. Like
Yeah.
you said, rather than having a dry kind of narrative presentation, most people get lost in that and
Yeah, well, like,
they're
so
bored.
there's dopamine is released when you have an emotionally charged conversation or story. So when you're talking and there is a reaction to it, there's dopamine, and dopamine naturally makes you remember moments. So there is true, like, neuroscience behind, not just like, sometimes it can seem like fluff. Oh, sure, you related and it's great, but it's like, no, there's a reason why it works. But I also think that on top of the neuroscience, it's also a huge piece is I built trust in that moment,
Mhm.
and I showed people a bigger side of things. And fast forwarding back to that COVID conversation, like, in that, it was a very scary, scary moment in time. Everyone was at home, didn't know what to do. I think that I told a story of what the future could look like when there was so much ambiguity and unknown for everyone. And I provided care in the right way and trust and confidence, and made some decisions and put people at ease and shared personal stories along the way. And I think it actually, then the bigger thing was we talked about how why we were doing this was bigger than just each individual. So greater purpose, which really inspired people. I think that the easy part probably is dissecting it to get all the pieces. So, like, okay, here's all the ingredients. The hard part is then weaving it together to tell the story so that it's concise and digestible for thousands.
Relatable. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Like,
you're not gonna relate with everyone. Some people are gonna be like, "That's utter bullshit," and that's okay too, because if you're being your authentic self, not everyone should like you. Like, that's a reality of it. So don't try and make sure everyone likes you and is inspired, because 'cause you'll fail.
oh, totally. I hear you on that one. Can't be liked by everyone, so get over
Yeah,
it, right?
exactly, exactly.
So in
Yeah,
terms of inspiring, I think we've covered off examples of ways possibly not to inspire, or ways to do it better.
yeah.
In this case, ways that have worked, why we should be doing it, where this all kind of ties into. Have we covered all the things we want to cover on inspiring employees?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what's the sum up though? Like what is I know like I what's the TLDR of if you're a leader listening to this and you're like, I feel like I'm doing all this, but people aren't just taking that extra mile. It's like, what might you not be doing? Like what would be your silver bullet of like, here's the thing, or maybe a few.
Well, there might be a few, because obviously there's going to be many different ways. So there could be combinations of things. It could just be something you're missing, maybe a complete lack of compassion, a lack of empathy for folks, and that pings them off the wrong way. Lack of giving a shit about other people's own growth, as well as is inspiring them maybe to go work on another team, possibly. So you're doing the wrong things. Maybe, like, for me, what always resonates is talking about the vision, like you said, communicating that vision as well, believing in the vision of the
Yeah.
organization, and then bringing it down to everyone else's level. Like, how is it what you are doing right now supporting the vision of the organization, and where do we need to step that up in certain ways? So everyone needs to see, everyone needs to know their place in that actual vision and the priorities of the organization, and it needs to be relating to them, right? So I think that that's really important. um,
Yeah.
for me, what I see a lot, and I work in leadership development, is that lacking, the lacking of sharing or communicating or bringing people to results through inspiring, through
Yeah,
creating.
it's almost like they forget to zoom out. Like they're too into the details and they think that that's the right conversation. But as a leader to inspire, you really have to zoom out to the bigger picture. And then like you need to know when to zoom in and out. And like that's the artistry of it. If that makes sense. Like I can kind of picture it. A great book on that one-on-one is I think it's Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But it just has some very tangible tips. Like talks about how when you're one-on-one, like use the person's name. That's the most important word in your vocabulary to build intimacy and trust and to engage them. It's like talking about listening and like how a positive demeanor and a smile actually mirrors what they want to see and engages them more. And so there's some like very tangible things that way. And I think that on the macro scale of one to many, it's know that like number one, you're self-aware and you're being yourself. Like truly be who you are, build trust and be consistent. Like you said earlier, be clear on what you know and what matters, like the clarity of the vision, the goals, the strategy, but tell a story. Don't just expect people to take marching orders. Inspiration comes through picturing something that they didn't think was possible and now knowing it is. And so that's that magic. That's that creativity that I think a story can tell.
Well, that's beautiful, Brittany. And so we're encouraging everyone to tell as many stories as possible, and not just bedtime stories. But
Yeah.
on that note, maybe we'll pause here and we'll go into our low wine time.
Yeah, let's drink some wine, get creative. No.
Yeah. Amazing.
And we are back for wine time. Give it a little cheers.
Whoops.
Today, oh, here we go. Cheers you properly. Today we have a red. We're getting wild with the reds. Mm. Oh,
Rambunctious
I
with
like
the
this
rest.
one. Okay. So it is Z. Alexander Brown called Uncaged.
Ooh, yes, yes, we are.
Yeah, we're very uncaged. Woo! It's a Cab Sauv 2020 California. So for me, this personally hits all of the marks. I love California Reds. I love Cab Sauvs, and it just tastes damn good. Like I feel like it has a boldness to it. It's dry, so it's not overly sweet. Sometimes I think they add way too much sugar to the reds to try and get them like bolder. This one isn't. Has a nice like tannin aftertaste, so, like, it kinda, like, the tongue tingles. Very, like, smooth, vanilla-y, I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not a big red wine person, and not that I don't like it, and just that I don't drink it as much. So I don't know what all the special words here you're
I
mentioning.
know, I feel like when we talk about whites, I'm like, "This is good, it's a 7, whatever." This one, I'm like, "The tannins, the duh." I have more experience with reds.
It's got a very sultry and robust taste to it. I might
So what would you give it? Yeah, take another sip, let it kinda sit, do one of these.
no, because I'm worried I'm going to spit it all over your white.
Yeah, don't do that, actually, don't do
I
that.
was just thinking that's a bad idea. I'm enjoying it. I'd probably get, it's quite nice actually, and it isn't too sweet. I'd give it somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8.
Yeah, I agree. I would get it again, and actually, it was a gift from someone. It's actually a gift from my designer, west of Maine. Amazing little shout out for them. But they brought it over and, yeah, it's wonderful. I don't know how much it costs because it was a gift, but I think
We'll look it
I
up.
think it's around 25.
Yeah, we'll look it up. They probably could have gone higher, but anyways,
Yeah,
all the business.
it's good though. That makes me like it more. I'm like, if it's around 2025, I'll buy that again. Like, hot dang.
So
Great wine.
we're repping for Weston, Maine. I've been working for Fresca this whole time.
I know, me too.
Just to tag them, obviously. I've been chugging back a Fresca.
You can tell that we're at my house when we're drinking Frescas because my husband is obsessed.
Fresca's on tap. Fresca's
Yeah.
for everyone, all around. You know what? I was going to make a little comment a second ago, and you'll hate me for it
Uh-oh.
for a minute. I know. Because I was thinking, like, the Cab Sauv, like, lovely, lovely Cab Sauv, like Sauvignon, right? So it's the word Sauvignon, but like the same as the Sauvignon Blanc, but yet you say the Sauv Blancs, but you don't say the Cab Sauv.
Oh,
I was just thinking that for a second because when you refer to your whites,
Cab Sauv.
your
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blanc, you
Well,
say,
obviously, Chelsea, someone has taught me to say it this way. I
I'm
didn't just
I gotta
make it up. So blame Pam.
I gotta figure out who it is because I was just thinking like it's the same word, but when she talks about her whites, it's Sauv Blanc.
It's for sure my mom or
Red,
my dad.
it's Cab Sauv. So I
Yeah.
was like, she's doing it right for the reds, but wrong for the whites.
I'm just made to drink reds.
She's just made to drink reds. But then it like reminds me of like when we were all chatting the other day and we were talking
Oh,
about
you got to bring
our
something else in.
characters for Clue and that at the
Okay, so
golf.
we're backstory is this. We're playing in a golf tournament, a member guest at my club, and I so graciously invited Chelsea and Katie and Sarah. You are welcome. And if you're not careful, you're gonna be uninvited. I'm just gonna say
Great.
that right
Then you're
now.
gonna be a better player than me.
So with it, it's a clue theme. So it's like a mystery, and they're gonna have all these games. But in this, we had to decide on characters. And what I realized through this moment was that I read things wrong.
just just straight up wrong. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's endearing
Like,
though.
but I mean, let's be honest, like orchid is spelt weird.
Yeah,
It's spelled orchard.
yeah. Oh, okay. Um,
Yeah.
so that's fine, hon. It's super endearing for you. Like, and when you say those things, and then we're all like, "Oh, you mean orchid?" Like, it's so
Yeah.
cute. Like, if it were anyone else, it would be like, "Idiot." But you do it, and we're just like, "There is a Brittanyism right
But the
there."
best part is you guys all know that I am actually smart, so it becomes cute. I'm like, if I say this dumb shit in front of people that don't know me, like I'm just sewering myself. They're like, does this woman even know how to read? Like, I don't know.
So I'm just sewering myself. That like I've been hearing you say that a lot lately. I'm gonna have to use that a bit more in my vocab. Like I'm just sewering myself.
I wonder where I got it.
I don't know, but when we were at dinner the other night and we were talking about terms that like what is it? The younger generation use
Oh
now.
my god, yes.
And then we were going through what were some of those weird ones that you guys
Oh, this is like a whole fun tipsy Tuesday would be us trying to figure out what these terms are. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you probably don't have them. I'm putting you on the spot. I don't even remember them because some of them made zero sense to me. But I remember rent free, but I think that one
Yeah, yeah, and what does rent free mean?
self-explanatory. Like
Yeah, what is
someone
well,
who's
you gotta explain it.
someone who's just like coasting off of other people, like just like a freeloader, right?
Yeah.
So I've
Yep.
heard that.
Okay, well, you know what slay means?
Slate.
Doing your damn thing.
I hear
We know what spill the tea is,
yeah, yeah, we know that.
giving the gossip. That's cap.
Yep, like who the fuck knows that?
It's a lie. That's
See,
what it
I would
means.
have thought, like, that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's a lie.
I wonder what
What
cap, like, would refer to in
it
terms
makes you think of a gun, not a gum.
of gun. That's a
Okay, the other one was Riz,
yeah,
spitting game.
sp spitting game?
Yeah, like, "You so da 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 da,"
So
like, your
Riz?
spitting game, it's called Riz. Or the other one that we thought was weird is, "You ate that," and what it means is you're pulling something off well, and I'm like, "You ate that sounds like you just dove off your skateboard and ate that curb."
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't mean, like, you did something well.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's a weird one because I wouldn't have thought that either. You ate it.
Yeah, and then the other one that you said Chloe says this to Carter all the time is, "That's mid. You're mid," which means, like, you're average, and I was like, "That's mean."
You're so mid. Yeah, like, imagine that's a nine-year-old saying that to a six-year-old.
It just makes you realize that we're so old and out of touch.
Oh my god, I can't even deal with it right now.
Like,
Wanna hear it.
I gotta start to integrate these into my language just day to day. But I feel like the people who I hang out with and see, if I said like that's mid or like way to spit some Riz, people would be like, "Do you mean cheese whiz or what?" Like it would just
Oh, we need to hang out with a younger crowd, obviously.
yeah.
I think that's
But to be honest, I think everyone should hang out with a younger crowd just to keep fresh. Like in general, they're way smarter and like more adaptive to like the technologies and everything than we are.
technology and stuff like that. I wouldn't say they're way smarter.
Well, not smarter in life. We yeah, but you know what I mean. They just keep you on you like they think different things.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta be open to all things. Like, you gotta be open to hang out with older people because, like, there's cool
Yeah.
things that they know
Yeah,
that
you're
we
valid,
don't know.
valid. Branch out. I mean, all I feel like I hang out with is like a group that thinks like me lately. And I love it because it feels good, but I really should branch out.
I just hang out with you guys and your family,
That's
so
what I
that's,
mean.
like, pretty
Yeah.
much it.
Okay, you know what I did the other day, which I actually suggest everyone to do. And just talking about young, this made me think of it because I colored it like I was in high school. So I got these journals and I wrote a bunch of things on the front, but it's a really like nice journal and it's just white pages and in the middle it's all brown. So we did vision boards inside the middle. So we like manifested all these different things. And so I made mine and we did it with my niece and nephews to like kick off the summer. So they did like their vision board or aspirations for the summer and what they wanted to get. So like Sydney was like, I want to get into the competitive dance. I just did like the next year. So I have pictures of like a mom and a baby and travel and Pilates because I want to do some cool new moves. But then from that, it's in the middle, and then you can keep journaling around it, and it's always there to keep looking at. So I'm in an era of manifestation. I think you put forward what you want in life, and I highly encourage to make a little journal with boards
Hey,
inside.
where did you get these journals? They're cute.
They are cute, eh? I got it from Michael's.
Okay, so it's got, like, a brown front and back that it almost looks like, back when you're in school, you used to cover your textbook
That's
with,
why
like, the
I
brown
exactly, it
paper.
makes me think of then, like, I literally colored it with all these things and was like, I feel like it's a throwback.
Yeah,
I love to doodle,
yeah.
and so, yeah, and then the inside is all,
Oh, oh,
yeah, I really hope that we have a baby one day, so that's in there.
that's so sweet. Did you put me in there?
I have friends, but I didn't
Oh,
finish
that's
that one
vague.
yet.
That's vague.
Yeah, that's big.
Say, I want, like, a spotlight in your fucking journal, okay, on your vision board. It's like when I
Well
go through that bloody hall upstairs and I don't see a picture of myself, I curse
I'm doing more photos.
okay,
I I
good,
just I just reached out to get more photos across the whole house, so there will be a spotlight of you. I'll put a little light on top.
because I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, way to make me feel loved and
Chelsea's
connected.
not in many photos in
My
the house.
Maslow's hierarchy is really screwed right now.
You're not feeling that security in our
Not
relationship.
feeling the security in the relation I'm not feeling loved, I'm not feeling cared for, my
I
self-esteem
love you
is
the
going to
most.
shit, I can't self-actualize. Ruined.
You're hindering me.
I'm
I'm not
ruined
inspired.
by your fucking vision board and your lack of photos.
Well, I just didn't have any photos of people on that one, but that I know it was all from magazines. But anywho.
Magazines.
Okay, well, I love you. Drink your wine and see you next week. Bye, everyone.
See you next Tuesday. Oh, I took it from VPR. Ha ha.